happen? Where we sitting over there?
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
How's Kate?
How is everyone? So good to see you all. I'm just admitting people as we're talking, so unmute. It's wonderful to see you all again. You can hear us. Please give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. There we go. Thanks, Elizabeth. Hi, Sheila. Ruth, I can't see you. Hi, everyone. So good to see you all. Okay. What a wonderful evening we have planned for you.
למה הזום שלך לא עובד כמו שצריך?
למה הזום לא עובד?
הזום.
Guys, I'm going to ask you to mute. While we're talking, we're going to have questions. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. And we've already got chats. And hi, Natalie. Thank you for that. Looking gorgeous tonight. What can I say? You've got a hi, Joel and Josh, Wendy Kagan. So that's to both of you. Wendy said,
a classmate of mine from literally 40 years ago.
oh, wow. No way. Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So guys, we're going to ask you to mute yourselves during the, as I said, during the interview, and then, type your questions in the chat if you have any. If we haven't covered them, I promise to go there and we can try and answer them for you. By the way, for people who don't know, my name is Daniela Crankshaw.
And I'm Grant Crankshaw, partner in crime.
Absolutely, partner in everything. And we are your hosts this evening.
Now, you might have assumed we're in the theatre. We're not allowed to be at the theatre, so this is a green screen, and we've projected a photo of the theatre behind us, just in case you wonder what that weird aurora effect is on our heads.
It's not because Grant is an angel. Absolutely not.
Or Danny's an angel. Okay.
It's just this make-believe world of ours, isn't it?
We'll not move at all.
So first, let us say Chag Sameach to everyone.
Chag Sameach, everyone.
Chag Sameach.
We hope that you're all enjoying the outdoor experience of Sukkot. Not so easy in Israel because we are into our second lockdown-ish. Stay indoors, they say. Unless, of course, you want to be outdoors, then all you have to do is think of a creative excuse.
Yeah. We can, we're Israelis. In a way, we're designed to think around the rules. If there's a way around the rules, the Israelis will find it.
Yeah, we're not the Sodic nation for nothing.
Yeah. If someone says you can't do it, we ask why.
I guess that explains the lockdown traffic jams.
Yes.
Right.
Fingers crossed everything comes out as we're planning. Apparently, Israel's only international airport, Ben Gurion, is mostly closed. Not due to corona, but rather equality. Someone from the Ministry of Health is worried that the financially challenged will feel left out because of everybody who can afford tickets leaving the country. So,
well, here's to equality.
Yeah, here's to equality.
Maybe they will feel so bad that they will give us tickets to a vacation soon.
Yeah, like the little 750 bonus we got.
Absolutely. Why not? We can propose that, I think.
And anyway, with the airport closed, the Minister of Tourism has resigned, which seemed pretty apt.
Since he's got
got nothing to do. But we'll move on.
Yeah, speaking of Israeli politics, it's a confusing and challenging time. There's great division in our society, and it's not a good thing. Politicians are more busy guarding their own interests than caring for their own nation. But I tell you what, I heard a really beautiful thing the other day, and I wanted to share this with you about the 4 minim species. And I don't know how many of you know this, but they symbolize the 4 different types of Jews a mix of good deeds and Torah. So you can be a good Jew, do good deeds and not study Torah, or do good deeds and study Torah. Everyone, a mixture. But the most important thing here is that you're not only meant to hold all four together, but you have to tie them to each other in one unit. And the whole purpose of the mitzvah is to symbolize the importance of unity of the people of Israel. And now more than ever, it's time for us to unite and support each other.
So,
Good luck.
as Center Stage enters its 8th month of being closed, our coffers are as bare as our stage, but we won't be discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
It's vital for us to keep our community connected despite the situation. So we'd like to thank you all for being our online community, and we are going to continue to grow. We'll be offering workshops online, improv and singing lessons with Natalie Lippin.
Which reminds me, I have to speak to you, Joel, as well about those kind of things. We'll talk about that later.
Natalie Lippin is a talented actor, director, trainer, and performance coach who we're planning on doing a play reading and some musical interludes as well.
Absolutely. We are so committed to keeping you involved, entertained, and connected. So follow us on Facebook, join our newsletter on our website, and stay up to date with all the goings on at Center Stage.
We'd like to remind you this is a pay-as-you-can event. So in the chat, you'll see there's a link if you can donate or
Contribute in some way. That would be great.
Should you be in our situation, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the show. We're all in this together.
Absolutely. And now let's offer a warm welcome to Josh Becker and Joel Chasnov. Yay! So we're going to start off with Josh, and I'm going to see how I can. Josh, just unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted.
The part where you'll be starting to talk, hopefully.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Born to British parents in Jerusalem, Josh grew up in a modern Orthodox home and was only able to step into the world of theatre, film, and TV in his later years. But he made up for lost time and appeared in many shows, including BBC's Silent Witness, in theatre pantomimes and Shakespeare performances, and in films such as Woman in Gold, amazing movie, with Helen Mirren as her Neumann.
Her Newman, yes.
Her
I
Newman.
was taken away by Nazis.
Taken away by, oh, that's dreadful. Okay.
Yeah, it was very realistic.
So besides acting, Josh is also a screenwriter and playwright.
Yes, you can say that, I guess. It's something I've relatively recently picked up, but
and we're going to talk about that too. We are, I promise you. So welcome to the show, Josh. It's quite a resume. Tell us, how did you get into acting in the first place?
Well, I think I've first got interested in acting, I think when I was very, very little. I remember there were daily shows of Laurel and Hardy on Israeli TV in the afternoon. And I remember thinking that looks like so much fun. And I think also my parents are watching, by the way, so they might concur. Hello.
That is Sheila Becker. Hi, Sheila.
Yes, Sheila, and Adrian Becker, my dad, behind her.
Okay.
And I think I started nudging them as a child to get me into a play, get me into something. And I think they were hoping at the time that it was just a phase. Sorry. But I was always very much always looking for an outlet to perform, to make my friends laugh, to just anything as a child. And like you said, I only got the opportunity a bit later when the
Tell us about that.
Well, I grew up on a street that just happened to open a community center for people from Anglos who made Aliyah, young Anglos, and they also opened a theatre, and the theatre was actually called Center Stage Theatre.
Oh, how dare they?
Differently. How dare they? Yeah,
how dare they?
They spelt it wrong.
They spelt it the English way, so.
Okay.
And I just discovered that way because they were putting up posters for auditions, and eventually I got the courage and went to audition. And once I got my first part, I just kept auditioning and was constantly in at least one or two plays, sometimes three plays simultaneously. I was a
Oh, we
little hooked.
know about that kind of life. We
Oh,
certainly-
yes, yes.
You must have
yeah.
felt it was a bit like deja vu coming back to another center stage, spelt American.
Well, when I first heard about you, I was like, wait a minute, is there a connection? I mean, it's
No.
but your center stage Israel, and the spelling's a bit different. So, and also center stage theater, unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So
place
we'll forgive them, but only this time.
We shall keep the flag flying.
shut
Being born and raised in Israel, you landed up in London. How did that happen?
That was a very long story. I mean, after the army, I started auditioning for drama schools. I auditioned both in Israel and again after nagging my parents, thanks mum and dad, I auditioned for some schools in London. I didn't get in at the time, and I think for like a few more years, I was looking at other ventures, trying to see what other things I could do while constantly being in community theatre, and then I decided to audition again for drama schools in London, which was the big dream, and ended up getting accepted, and then I moved there after when I was 28. So this is living my whole life in Jerusalem.
So you went to drama school when you were 28 to university?
Indeed, yes.
Wow,
I was
so you were an old
mature. I was a mature student.
Mature
Mature
student. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you stayed in London after you studied, right?
That's right.
And you got to
Yes.
do theatre, film, and TV, which was amazing. What do you think was your most standout experience during that time? Was there something that really sort of stands out for you that you remember fondly or cringe when you think about it, or anything that's
A few
kind of
things. Well, there was a show that I did. It was actually a black comedy about what's going on in the West Bank from a certain perspective. But I also, funnily enough, I was cast as the Palestinian.
okay.
Yeah. But we performed it in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for a month, and so somebody invited us, somebody who came to scout some shows, invited us to perform in the show in India. So
Oh, wow.
it ended up being we ended up going to India for a few days, which was quite the experience. So it was a show that, went through, I can't think of the word in English.
Metamorphosis?
Gilgulim,
Metamorphosis, yes.
Metamorphosis, yeah.
Okay.
That was a good experience. And I mean, that was a very interesting experience, getting to see an area of the world which I've never been to before.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
No, you said you were cast as a Palestinian, and it's incredible as I watch your work, because you are very versatile and you tap into both your English and your Israeli side in your acting. And I'd love to share just a few examples of that, if I may,
please do.
of both those styles, both English and Israeli. It's just a few seconds of each one. So if you'll bear with me, I am going to try and get that. Let's see that we are there. And oh dear, let's go next. Right, here we go.
I have to ask you to leave.
But we didn't do anything.
It's all right, Kevin.
Well, we close at dusk.
It's still light.
Well, we're closing now.
I said if you don't leave, I will get my gun and shoot you!
So you told him you're closing,
Yeah.
and then what did he say?
He said he'd shoot me.
Let's go to the next one. Oh dear.
No. It's Chaim. Im. It means life in Hebrew. And I am full of it.
Right, Sha'im. So, I've been looking through your very impressive resume, and you're also a martial arts expert. Could you possibly give us a demonstration?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure Gerald would like to get some exercise.
Won't take very long. Just 1 second, I need to get into battle zone. Come on. Punch me right here in the nose. Right in the center of the face. Come on. Do it. Come on. Give.
That was quite something.
That was great.
It was good
So
fun.
I thought was really good examples of you using both sort of like the Israeli side and the English side. So
Yeah.
now,
Your experience crosses over from film and television. How would you differentiate between them? Which would you prefer, actually?
or more, how do you transition between them?
Between film and television, I mean,
And
there's
theatre, because theatre is
Oh,
what's
and theatre.
different.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very different from each other. I think I was kind of, for a while, I was focused more on film because I started off in the theatre, and that's, you know, what I was doing pretty much the whole time. And also, it was also thinking how far film and television can go. But I mean, with regards to the experience, it's, as I said, both very different, but I also enjoy them both very much for different reasons. Theatre, because you have, you know, you're there, you're experiencing it, you're getting the reactions, you're finding out, you know, and if you make any mistakes, you learn to cover them, and you know, to deal with anything that might go wrong. On film, it's for the opposite reason, that you get to do it you get to get it right as well, but you know, you're less worried about making mistakes. But also, with regards to the acting itself in front of a camera, I know everyone says it's a lot smaller, but it's a lot more natural, and it's naturalistic. Yeah,
Right.
And it's kind of, you know, in theatre you have to project a lot more, so people are there with you. And
I have to tell you the story because it just highlights something. When I was a drama student, and I'm sorry I'm making it about me, but of course I am, because I am just, you know, like that. But I was in the theatre, and I went to do one of my lecturers wanted me to audition for a film. And I went in there and I blasted my way through as I would in theatre, being very big and loud, and the movements were there. He was just like, no, take it down, take it down. So
yeah,
it was a matter of learning. It's two very different disciplines, absolutely.
oh, absolutely. And the thing is, because I naturally, I mean, this is what I've been told, I naturally am very expressive with my face. When I was doing, so I did a lot of comedy, and then when I was doing serious stuff, dramatic stuff, and this was actually on stage, and this was actually still in Israel before I went to drama school. The director kept telling me, stop moving your eyebrows, stop. Yeah, because I was doing this a lot and I didn't even realize I was doing it. So it was like,
okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So during your first lockdown, or our first lockdown, everyone's first lockdown in Israel, you were inspired to do something very different. And I just love it when people reinvent themselves and find ways to be creative. So tell us about that. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to show a bit of the English version and not the Hebrew version, just because we're in English theatre. But tell us about what you did.
Well, basically, I wanted to do something. I wanted to write something of my own, something to create something, because being in the lockdown, obviously it stopped a lot of work options out there, and for years it's what's drilled into our heads in drama school is create your own work, because that's, you know, don't depend on others, create your own work to give you the option of doing things. And I just, again, I didn't think too much about it. I just came up with an idea after having a Zoom conversation. This was when we just started using Zoom at the beginning of the first lockdown with a family. And it just inspired, I mean, I could see a lot of things were going wrong. People hearing each other, not hearing each other, or the light not working, or sound, sorry, mum and dad. And it just, I thought how funny it is when people are like having a conversation and there's somebody not hearing, or everything's just going wrong. So I just came up with this
incredible little play, 5-minute play called Seder Lockdown, which in Hebrew you did all of the characters, and you submitted it to us for the 5-minute play, and that's how we actually connected a little bit more strongly to do it on our 5-minute play festival during the lockdown. And here is a very small portion. It's pretty much a dysfunctional family with all the issues that do go wrong. I'm not going to show all of it, but I'm going to try and see if I can show just a little bit for you guys. So hang tight and do forgive us for all our technical difficulties. We're still experiencing them. So hang on, here we go. Let me see.
I suppose I served a lot longer than you, eh?
Oh dear, there we go. So that was and I'm going to move it along to where it should be. Hang on, there we go.
Yep, like this.
Can you hear it? Yeah, okay.
No, can't hear, can't see.
You can't hear it and you can't see it?
No.
Oh dear, I'm going to stop sharing it. So much for that, guys. That didn't work. But if you want to see it, please go to Center Stage's Facebook page. It is posted over there. And it's an incredible story about a family who tries to get together for the Seder, and it just doesn't work. So Josh, kudos for you. This is just another example of it not working, and we're just going with the flow. Absolutely.
Any further upcoming projects, Josh?
I mean, basically up until the lockdown, I'm answering it in a different kind of way, but we moved back to Israel after I've been away for 13 years. So I was working on getting back into the industry and getting to know people and hoping to start working. Unfortunately, that all came to a halt due to the lockdown, but I'm working on a few ideas and auditions and stuff. So
well, keep us informed always, Josh.
Absolutely,
what
absolutely.
you're doing and how you're doing. So now I'm going to move over to Joel, if I may. Hey, Joel, how you doing?
Finally, I get to be on. No, I'm doing great. And I actually have a few questions for Josh, if either now or before I go, but I found a lot of what he said really fascinating. So
go for it.
So Josh, first of all, it turns out that your sister and I were at Camp Ramah together about 28 years ago. So Shosh is here, so I'm glad to make the connection. But so first of all, I don't know if you've worked in Israel enough, having just come back, but I've heard a lot of people say that Israeli acting, the style, is very different from American and British acting. And I would love to hear from someone who's done it in both, what your take on that question is.
Well, I mean, what I can say about that, I mean, I haven't worked as much in the industry in Israel, but for many years it was the acting in Israel was very, I'm trying to think how to put it, very Russian style. Because all the drama schools, I mean, a lot of the teachers in drama schools in Israel came from Russia, and they had a very Russian education of theater, of Stanislavski and all that, and it was all very, very big and very emotional. And And it's in the last, I think it's probably in the last 10, 15 years, might not be accurate, but about 10, 15 years, that actually a lot of actors and directors went and studied in America or in England or in other countries other countries that work, you know, in the way that we know. And so I think the acting is actually, I mean, television programs and films have become a lot more naturalistic rather than acted, if that makes sense.
Although I have to say that Joel, it's still, I agree with what Josh was saying, but I think that the actors are very, it is true, they are very kind of dry and very, you know, it's not the same depth that I think in English or acting in English gives. I think even for myself, acting both in English and in Hebrew, obviously it's easier for me in English because I can really bring in the expression, but Hebrew is just very dry, and it's different. It really is different.
It's not as rich as the English.
No, not as rich at all. And the style as well is really different.
Yeah.
Whereas I would prefer to emote and really feel the text. The Israelis kind of skim over it, and you know, I don't know if it's the language or if it's the style, but there is something definitely about that. But Joel, I want to let people know who you are. So I want to introduce you.
Run through a quick intro here. Okay. Joel's an American stand-up comedian and writer. He's performed on screen and stage in 9 countries, including 2 off-Broadway shows, a USO comedy tour of Japan and Korea, more than 1,000 Jewish events in North America and Europe, Israel late night TV, author of a comic memoir, the 188th Crybaby Brigade, and about his year as a tank soldier in the Israeli army. He even had a performance at Center Stage before the shutdown.
As if all that other stuff wasn't enough. He even had a performance at Center Stage. I mean, come on. Let's get to what's important here. Yeah.
We had to put that in, Joel. I mean, come on.
Of course.
So give us a little bit of background, because you've got some interesting stuff going on with you, and I think just, you know, I think pre-army, just if you could give us a little bit of background on who you are and where you come from.
Sure. I mean, the very short story was born and raised outside of Chicago in Evanston, Illinois. Went to a Jewish day school called Solomon Schechter with Wendy here, who was on our call, and really got a deep love of Israel. Some would call it, I guess, a genuine love. Others might say, you know, poisoned by the whole Zionist thing. But between Jewish day school and Camp Ramah and all the other good stuff, I really did get a big love of Israel all those years. So in high school and college, I did both. I did acting and comedy and drama and writing, but also was very involved in Israel activities and hosting Israeli exchange students. And after college, eventually went to Israel and served in the Israeli army for 1 year. And then 6 years later, wrote a book about that. Lived in the U.S. for 20 years after that. And then 5 years.
You're writing forward. Hang on. Wait.
Well, I want to give the quick version, but go ahead. What's the question?
Stop. Wait, there's some interesting things happening here. I mean, it's amazing. So my brother was a lone soldier. So I know that you guys actually face quite a few unique challenges. And I just wanted to know, because you were a lone soldier, you came here at the age of 24 to join the IDF. So you were as well a mature soldier, like Josh was a mature actor. So what did you find to be the most challenging aspect of being a lone soldier?
Well, first of all, this was 1997. This was back when lone soldiers didn't really have a face. Unfortunately, it took the death of a lone soldier, Michael Levin, Zichrono Livracha. He was killed in 2006, I believe, in Lebanon. And until then, no one really knew what lone soldiers, who we were or why we came. When Michael was killed, his story came out and 10,000 Israelis showed up for his funeral. And it was really a beautiful story. But the other side of it is that until that happened, no one really knew, you know, who we were or why we came. And so one of the big challenges was just trying to get our rights, which we were supposed to have. You're supposed to be allowed to go home on certain Thursdays of the month to pay your rent and pay your phone bills and take care of errands and all these, little tiny things. You were supposed to get extra money from the army, and some of this happened, some of it didn't. But because they weren't really familiar with who lone soldiers were, or they wouldn't believe you if you said, I'm a lone soldier. My Hebrew was really good, and so they actually thought I was making it up sometimes just to try to get a day off. That was one challenge. The other, another big challenge is simply not having your family there. The army is very hard. I look back on it as a wonderful experience. I would definitely do it all over again, but it was extremely difficult. And I cried many times and wanted to leave, and not having parents here, brothers, close friends to, as that support system that Israelis count on. That was a big challenge too. And I think the third big obstacle was being 24 in an army that's literally run by 19 and 20-year-olds. My officers were all 5 years younger, and the further on you get into the army, the more you start questioning why are they doing this? This doesn't make sense. And I remember once making a comment like that, and one of the 18-year-olds said to me, "Hey, that's why they draft us when we're 18, because we're too stupid to know the difference." And I think there's some truth to it. The older you are, the more you're going to intellectualize it and question. And there is such a thing maybe as being too old to serve, in an army that's run by kids.
I think God can
I
relate
quite
to that.
agree with you. Yeah, I served in the South African Army, and also I went in there as a graduate. So dealing with all the children was quite hard.
Sure.
You wrote a book about this, the 188th Crybaby Brigade.
That's right.
Could you elaborate quickly on that?
Sure. The book, it's my comedic memoir about the year in the IDF. And it's not a pro-Israel book or an anti-Israel book. I just wanted to tell a truthful story about what it was like to be a soldier in a combat unit of the Israeli army. And so I start with the first visit to the induction center and take people through basic training and tank school, and finally Lebanon at the very end. And I try to give some laughs along the way, but there are also some dark moments as well, as I discovered just how chaotic the Israeli army is. And what do you expect in an bunch of Israelis running an army? That is the Israeli army. So everything about Israelis is true in the army as well. And what I'm most proud about with the book is that a lot of lone soldiers still read it, even though the book is now 10 years old. Lone soldiers who are coming over, and there are now 6,000, by the way, lone soldiers in the IDF. A lot of them have read it. Unfortunately, they buy one copy and then pass it around their entire platoon. So
Damn, that's
but they're all cheap. But I'm honored nonetheless. And I think a lot of things have changed in the army. I now have 2 kids in the army myself, so I see it from a different perspective. But some things have never changed and probably never will when you have Israelis.
No, this is Israel. You can't expect change.
Yeah.
That's kind of. So you know what? I always admire comedians, because I think that acting, directing, singing, which is something that I do. Comedy is not something that I do without a script. I don't do stand-up.
Okay.
Grant does, and I admire him tremendously for that. And what is it that draws you and people like you to comedy? Because I understand instinctively what it is for acting and singing and whatever, but comedy I don't think does it give you the same rewards as it would? What is it that draws you back again and again? Because it's the toughest job in the world.
I think it is extremely tough, and I appreciate your compliments, because I think you have some deep insight into how comedy really works. In many ways, it's an unfunny business. There's a lot of science that goes into crafting jokes and making sure the jokes work. In terms of what you get out of it, the reward, I think it's the greatest reward. I can't think of many other art forms where the feedback is so instantaneous, but also so genuine. You can have a musician play on stage, and if the music is bad, people will still applaud just to be nice. But if you're doing comedy, if people are laughing, you're funny. And if they're not laughing, you're not. So I think we're drawn to that immediacy of the feedback and knowing exactly how well we are or aren't doing at any given moment. And also just knowing that you're only as good as your last show, that you can't phone it in. You always have to be on top of your game, and every audience changes.
Wow.
That's so true. And that's the same. I think that's why I love theater so much, because of that immediacy and that connection with the audience, which is just something that is so incredible. There's just no describing it. So
Joel, you decided to settle in Israel, making Aliyah. You had a thriving career. I'm sure you had a lot of people ask you why.
Why do you do such a thing? Are you crazy?
So why?
And how do you answer them?
Well, at that point, we had been in the United States for 20 years. That's myself, my wife, and our 4 kids. And 5 years ago, we pulled everyone out of school, the 4 children, and backpacked around the world for a year. So we just took a year off and literally got rid of everything, almost everything we owned, and backpacked through 4 continents and 14 countries. And during that trip, we had nowhere that we had to go afterwards. And we'd always wanted to try Israel. My wife is a Sabra Israeli. I had done the army and lived here a little bit. And we always sort of had this burning question: what would it be like to live here as a family for a little bit? And also in Israel, it's different. And maybe in South Africa and England, it's a little bit different with university. But in the United States, college, university is a very chaotic time, very stressful, to the point of ulcers and medication for many kids. And we were really deciding, did we want our 15-year-olds, they were then 15, to do high school in Israel and then the army, or do high school in the States and then apply to college? And we really wanted them to do the army. And so that's one of the reasons we came. And also career-wise, it was really going great, but at the same time, I felt there was a plateau and I needed to try something different. So I wanted to shake things up. I must say, it's still an experiment. We rent here, we don't own. It's always in the back of my mind, how long will this experiment last? Will it become permanent? But at least as long as the kids are in the army, we're here, which is another year or two. But
I love that.
For many people who move here, I think the question always exists. I'd be
sure.
curious to hear from you guys.
Absolutely. I think that the adventure and the experience is what keeps us here, and it makes it, and it's, I don't know, maybe we just suckers for punishment too. No, I'm kidding. I think it's the adventure and the experience. So now, I'm taking it for granted. I just want to you questioned Josh about the acting in the difference between acting in Israel and the US. So what's it like in terms of comedy? Because it's a different culture, different people, and people react differently to comedy. So what has your experience been in terms of doing comedy both in the US and in Israel? What works there? What doesn't work here? How does that work for you?
Well, in many ways, it's similar to what Josh said. I think 15 years ago, the comedy was a lot bigger. It was all about the Moroccans are this, the Iraqis are this, and Parsim are that, and getting into all the groups. It was very loud and brash. And only recently are you singing sort of a quieter, more Seinfeldian approach to comedy with, more wittier jokes and smarter humor, as opposed to just loud, in your face, almost shouting comedy. So that's been one change. For me, the comedy I do here is almost exclusively in English. I have performed in Hebrew. I must admit, I don't enjoy it as much. My shlita, my control of the language, just isn't where it needs to be. I'm fluent in Hebrew, but I think there's a difference between fluent and being able to command an audience on stage. And I'm missing that last bit of command to be able to get on stage and be at the top of my game in Hebrew, especially with an Israeli audience who are barbarians. They're not like a polite American or British audience who will sit there and allow you to make a few mistakes and they're with you. Israelis want you to be funny from the instant you step foot on stage. And if they're not, they're going to let you know. And there's enough English work that I can do it in English here, but the Hebrew stuff for now, I'm not.
Okay.
Well, you might not think you do so well in Hebrew, but you really knocked it out the park with the Yom Kippur video that you did.
Thank you.
And it went viral, racing up to over 100,000 views.
Yeah, that was
so we're going to have a look at it now, just to share it with everyone watching.
Yeah, and if you can't hear it or see it for some reason, please let me know. But I'm hoping that it all works, because this is really
fingers crossed.
Fabulous video. So here goes. Let's see. Share. Let's get to it.
So where are they?
And
okay, we're all ready to go on the walking tour of Tzfat.
That's not my video, by the way.
Anyway.
We're not here yet. This is
And they said 11:30. They said meet us in the lobby.
Right. At the Sarah Ruth Rimonim Hotel.
דמי הבטלנו, השתעלנו, והשארנו, ויפינו, זומנו בשינה. איי 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 חולנו, טלוויזנו, ידינו טמנו, כפכפינו, קלבנו, לכלכנו, מסכנו. Ay 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 Netflix
tour coming from Hadassah, from America, and we really want to know where what she means is we're from Hadassah, from America. Yeah, and we want to know where they went. We can't find them. What she means is we don't know whether or not they left the hotel. Yeah.
Wow, it's even funnier when you have another video running in the background. That it really adds a whole other element that I hadn't planned on. Don't worry about it.
I think somebody's mic was on, but
the whole idea is obviously that we have all these sins that we confess to every year, and I thought for Corona, the way it actually happened is a rabbi in Australia. I'd done a Zoom comedy show for their shul, and he said, "Can you give me anything funny for my high holiday service?" And I thought, what could I maybe do to spice it up, because his service was going to be on Zoom, and I got the idea to do this video, and he pay it. I said, "Here, just take it," and then I distributed it to anyone else as well for their high holiday services. And it did get it's gotten over 100,000 views, and I think it just tapped into some of the angst people have. Plus, people love song parodies. Anytime you can parody an existing tune, that helps. And plus, the prayer itself is so ridiculous on its own without any comedy added.
It is.
When you think about it, that putting Corona to it makes it all the more so. So it has had a good run.
For doing that. I mean, that really, really turned out so well, and I'm very pleased for you. I wanted a final question to you before we go to the questions for both of you. How are you coping now with Corona and not being able to perform live? And I think it's someone said to me, "Oh, you're having comedy on." They thought I was doing a comedy show, and said, "Please don't do that because comedy just falls flat now. If there's no audience, there's nobody laughing, it's awful. Please don't do that." And I said, no, I'm not having a comedy show. I'm interviewing a wonderful comedian. And she said, okay. So how do you deal with that, with the lack of the live audience and it's how do you do comedy on Zoom? I mean, come on.
She has a point. It's very different. I mean, first of all, you don't know how you're doing, right? After every Zoom show, I have to ask people, did you like it? How did it go? Because there is none of that instant feedback. You might see a few people chuckling on their screens, but you're just as likely to see people petting their dogs and checking their iPhones. So you don't have the audience with you.
Do you mute them or do you let them?
Well, I usually do mute the audience. I know some comedians want to have people unmuted, but there are so many distractions and so many other side conversations going. All it takes is one. All it takes is one person to forget and to start talking to someone else. Everyone else hears it. It can ruin the show. So I do mute people. I keep it shorter. Typically when I perform live, it's an hour. When I do a Zoom show, I cap it at 30 minutes. I just think there's a certain amount of concentration people can have and focus on one thing at a time. And I try to vary it up. Instead of doing stand-up for half an hour, I show some video clips of comedians I like. I tell classic Jewish jokes. I do a Q&A sort of in the middle, because I don't think you can watch someone talking into a screen for 30 minutes without any other excitement going on. So it really is very different. I think people, thank God, do want it, so there is enough work out there. The question is, how long will it go?
Very good question.
We're realizing this could go longer than we believed.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now, Joel, thank you so much. That was really incredible. And I want to do the 10 questions to you guys. And I want to
This is the...
Ask Josh to, have you unmuted yourself, Josh?
I believe I have, yes.
You have.
Okay.
Okay, so this section is really very quick and just answer sort of like short and sweet and to the point, and we'll take it from there. So Grant, you want to
Okay.
ask the...
Your first question. Make it to Joel.
Putting you on the spot. Yes, Joel, come on.
What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh my God, I thought it was going to be about comedy or something.
No, it's
Perfect
getting to know
happiness.
you. Come on.
That's
give
too,
us-
that's too easy.
Yeah, really? In front of all these strangers?
Absolutely. Bare your soul,
Perfect
Joel. Come on,
happiness.
do it.
You know, let's keep it comedy focused. I'll tell you what a perfect comedy show is. A bunch of people in a room. There's more people in the room than there are chairs because you always want to have a packed feeling.
Like our New Year's Eve party. Yep.
Yes. Always set less chairs than you expect people. I want the people to be smart. I want the people not to have been drinking. People often say, oh, the more we drink, the funnier it is. No, the more people drink, I think the more rowdy they are and think that they're part of the show. And an audience that really cares and gives enough leeway, gives enough rope to the performer to listen and not think that they need to interject themselves into the...
We'll let you get away with that one.
Yeah.
No, but just be prepared for
Man,
the others.
now I'm all
We're gonna
worried
change.
about how deep we're going. This is being recorded too, right?
We're getting to know you. We're getting to know you. Come on, Josh, give us your...
Oh, gosh. Could you just say the words again?
Your idea of perfect happiness.
Perfect happiness. First of all, having more hours in the day. I would say having the opportunity of being creative and being able to realize what you want to do, and also still have all the time for your family as well in a perfect world.
Okay. So here's the next one coming straight into you because we put Joel on the spot. Now we're putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Which person do you most admire, Josh?
Which person do I most admire? Oh,
yep.
There's a lot of people I admire. Oh God.
Top one.
I admire my wife for putting up with me all this time.
I do too. I like that. That's a good one. Okay, Joel.
And now I sound like a total jerk for saying Steve Martin, right? Not my wife.
There's a kind of a similarity between.
I just couldn't think of anything.
Yeah, for comedy it would be, and for many things it would be Steve Martin.
Steve Martin.
He's a very smart comedian. I really enjoy him. He's terrific. Okay.
Next question. What do you consider to be a most overrated value?
Virtue.
Virtue.
An overrated virtue.
Overrated
virtue. God. Virtue meaning like a quality that somebody has?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, living in Israel, I think it's overrated, the whole honesty, dugri thing. Israelis are so proud, like, at least, they always say, you know what, at least I'm not lying to your face. At least I'm not being a hypocrite. And my answer is, go ahead, lie. Once in a while, lie to me. Be polite. Be a hypocrite. I'm not going to get angry. So the whole honesty thing, that's overrated.
Okay, Josh, take it away.
I'm actually going to go in the opposite direction. I think sometimes, I know I'm guilty of it as well, but sometimes people are way too polite when they really shouldn't be. Sometimes people need to hear what's said.
Like, tell me straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you see, we see where we're raised in different countries.
Exactly.
So Joel, going on what you said, I'm going to take you to the next question. On what occasion do you lie? Don't you love these questions?
I am not prepared for this kind of depth. I do not like to hurt people's feelings, so I wouldn't say I lie all the time, but I give compliments freely, maybe even when they're not always deserved. Let's say that.
So when you said it was nice to see me, you didn't really sort of mean.
When I said there was nowhere I'd rather be on a Sunday night.
Oh yeah.
Good recovery.
No, I'm kidding. This is great.
Josh, tell us when do you lie?
I would probably lie if it means getting, if it means I don't get into trouble. Yes, but maybe it's not very original, but yeah, sometimes I would agree with Joel on this one. You sometimes have to be nice and give compliments even.
Thank you, Josh, for lowering your.
No, I meant more not, coming up with an original answer,
Okay.
But you're welcome.
Okay.
Josh.
We're going to stay with you, Josh, and see what talent would you most like to have?
Other than what you have.
Yes. Numerous talents.
Nothing else. Yeah. I would love to have. What talent would I like to have? I'd love to have the talent of drawing realistic drawings. I very much enjoy drawing, but I wouldn't say I'm good at it. So.
Okay, but you enjoy it.
I do enjoy it. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
That's not creative. I like it. I like that.
Joel?
Guitar. I've played guitar many years, and I'm a firm believer that if you just practice and practice, you will improve at skills. But for some reason with guitar, I just can never seem to get over a certain hump, and I would love to be able to get over that hump.
Okay, very nice. So now, an opposite to what was the other question. Grant, go for it. This is the last two, guys. You're on the hot seat, but it's the last two. It's okay.
I like that. I like the sound of that last two. Good.
I thought, like, being honest was not kind of, what's happening here? Get with the program, dude.
Okay. What do you most value in your friends?
Wow, just the seamless understanding. I mean, the good friends I have, that you don't even have to, all the things that I brought up and Josh brought up about when to be honest and when not to, I think with really, really good friends, those questions don't even enter the equation. There's just an invisible understanding that you can't even put into words, but just seems to be there. And I treasure that in the few very, very close friends that I have.
Great answer. That timelessness of some friendships that you can just pick up where you left off. Love it. Yeah.
Okay, Josh.
Josh.
I think what I value in the good friends that I have is also the acceptance, any life decisions, any career path, anything, or just who we are as people. And they accept who I am, I accept who they are. And I think that's a very important part of friendship.
It is. It certainly is. On to the last one, guys.
Yeah, last question.
Breathe in and out. It's there. It's good.
Oh, yeah, breathe.
If you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, who or what would it be?
Oh my God.
Bill's going, oh no! Oh my God, what are these questions?
I'd love to be one of my mother-in-law's cats if I came back. She's right over there, so I thought they live a very good life, just say. Very pampered life.
You're not the first cat person we've had, by the way.
That was a good one, Joel.
That was a good one.
Joel, do you want to try and top that?
Yeah, I think I'd like to come back as myself, just with all the understanding I now have. So I wouldn't have made so many strange, dumb, whatever decisions when I was a teenager, and all those years. Have the perspective and wisdom of however old I am now when I was much younger.
Absolutely.
Good answer. Excellent.
Wouldn't we all? All right. I mean, wouldn't we all?
Obviously.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it, guys. I mean, that sort of wraps up the interview. But I just want to say thank you, first of all, to Joel and to Josh for being such good sports.
Thanks,
and letting us into their lives a little bit. I also want to take this opportunity and say, we are going through a very tough time. And I think the most important thing is let's keep connected. Let's unite somehow. Let's get through this. Let's be safe and healthy. We miss you. Our theater is being closed for way, way too long. And Elizabeth, I keep saying this every time I see you guys, is that we miss having you there in our theater. We miss performing to you. And we thank you for joining us on these On Cue series. And I hope that we've been able to give some sort of platform to Joel and Josh to expose themselves, as it were, their talents and their contribution to English language culture here in Israel. That is really what we want to do. So thank you so much. Thank you for spending this time with us. We so appreciate it. And next week we're going to have Ruby Welkovich, who is a young director, but she started in the industry at a very, very young age. So she's going to have an incredible story. And if I'm not mistaken, it's Rachel Krieger, who is a British comedian in London. We're just taking the advantage that of this time when we're in closure and having to do things over Zoom and not in the theater to bring in outside people. So please feel free to join us. There's some questions here. Thank you. Another amazing night. Where's the link for donations? If you go up to the start, guys, the link is there. It's a paypal.me/Center Stage Israel. Thank you for being with us. And I'll post it again. Also, people have been asking for the link for Joel's great.
The easiest link is, I'll just type it in. It's my website, which is joelchasnoff.com, and it's on the Comedy Clips page. You can watch it there. So I'll type that in real quick.
Thanks, Joel. Please put it into the chat here. Thanks, Sandy, for your comments. Always good to be with you too. Emmanuel said here, comedy is one of the weapons Jews could use to survive, to escape the hard times, especially back in the Lower East Side in Brooklyn, then the Jewish comedy belt upstate New York around the Grossingers, the Catskill Mountains. That's very interesting to know.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, everyone's just saying thank you, guys. You can read the comments. It seems like we've answered all the questions. I'm just trying to go through them. But thank you once again for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do join us next week. And thanks again to Joel and Josh. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you, Daniela and Grant. Leetrot, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mother.
Night, Lydia.
Good night, Dad.
Good night, Josh.
Thanks,
Good night.
Sandy.
Regards from Jerusalem. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Sameach. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Take care, everyone.
Good night, Mary Lou.